What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And it is, of course, brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. If you're doing any sort of sports betting or DFS during the NFL playoffs, make sure that is where you're getting it done. We've got a lot to talk about today. Of course, Mike Tomlin was not fired. He stepped down from coaching for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost to the Houston Texans, meaning they've now gone 7 straight playoff losses. Haven't won a playoff game in a decade. We, of course, have to preview the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. And then we're going to finish things off talking a little bit of college football. Dante Moore deciding to go back to school for another year. But before we get into it, Matt, Theo, it's Wednesday. It's still winter. It's still cold. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. Coaching cycle's crazy.
It's a crazy cycle.
We were talking about this in our little group chat, and it wasn't until our editor Manny brought it up that I decided to look it up. And this is probably the most coaching turnover we've ever seen in a season. There are currently 9 coach openings, which is the most since, what was it, last season or 2 seasons ago when there were 8, which was the most since 2 or 3 seasons before that when there were 7, right? So it's been crazy the amount of coaching turnover we've seen over the last, half decade.
Yeah. I have a silly hypothetical.
Sure.
Do you think it could be a good idea to prophesize your head coach?
How do you mean?
For the future. Like, imagine someone writing it down in team lore, foretelling of a franchise savior coach. Do you think that could be a good idea? If you wrote down, like, they will have black hair and they will be from the Louisiana Bayous, I don't know, fill in whatever it is, so that when this person is born, everybody knows. Like, everybody knows, like, oh my God, this is what the Steelers were talking about. Because then the kid gets to prepare for it his entire life, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
What if he doesn't want to do that?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. It's like, what if the prophecy
You're
says
telling me
he's
that if a
supposed to lead
prophecy
the Steelers to the divisional round, but he really loves dance more than anything.
But if a prophecy is written about you, you're not going to do it?
This sounds like a shitty Disney movie. I'm not going to lie to you.
If I had written a prophecy about you and I was like, I don't know, what is a prophecy that you wouldn't like? I'm trying to imagine.
President.
Okay, I said Theo Ash is going to be president, or at least spend as much time as possible in the political sphere working his way up. He'll at least be in state senate minimum.
You're the chosen one of politics, right?
In state senate prophecy. He will save Colorado.
Well, he'll make a marginal impact on the Colorado.
He'll make a marginal impact on Colorado. He is destined. I don't know. It would certainly be weird.
I think you would be like, no, I think I'd rather chill. I think
maybe the prophecy needs to expand to a couple more people then. Like, they'll come from this town in this year.
Yeah,
and then there's a bunch of kids.
Like
Then you have
people.
Then you've got like 4 people competing for the prophecy. I think the prophecy.
Yes, and that's the question.
I think if there is a prophecy, it should be more internalized, like Kung Fu Panda. It's about the soul of a person more so than about the skills they've acquired.
So do you think that should be like a document the front office hands on hand and like is kind of like in Kung Fu Panda when someone became or in the interview process, they're working towards some sort of aspirational goal. So maybe that should just be something the Rooneys have for the Steelers or something and just never show anybody and say.
Yeah, it's like a scroll.
That just sounds like a criteria for the interview more than it does like a prophecy.
Okay.
Yeah, how do you respond to this?
I'm sorry, not to shoot down the
mirror.
You should do it for the Packers. Nothing's stopping you.
Yeah, I should.
Just go into your backyard and pretend to like find this old box and be like, dude, this is the Packers 2028 coaching prophecy.
Pretend that there's a prophecy for like 1 year from now. I was thinking a bit of a longer timeline. Like this is a
2050.
you reap now and you sow.
Prophecy for the draft, for the off season. Franchise tag knobs, bro.
Mendoza, you are prophesized as of today to force a trade to the Jets. As of 1 hour ago, the prophecy was written. And will you fulfill it?
Adam Schefter just reported
a prophecy.
A prophecy.
All right, I like Schefter reporting a prophecy.
Steelers owner Art Rooney foretells of a franchise savior with hair as black as coal. Yeah, I was just wondering. I thought maybe because somebody said we were talking about the Steelers on Twitter, and I mentioned how usually they hire somebody young, age 34 for Tomlin, age 34 for Cowher, 37 for Knoll, 37 apparently for the guy before that, who was probably a World War II fighter pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking their next guy will probably be under the age of 40 because that seems to be the way they roll, and they seem to have a lot of success doing it. So somebody said,
how many guys does that leave?
Well, we'll get into that, but somebody said they should hire a infant child, right, as part of
infant child would be horrible.
A young person joke. And that's what got me thinking about this whole prophecy is like, what if you did hire an infant child and that infant child had to grow up knowing that one day he'd have to coach the Steelers?
Ain't no rule says infant child can't coach the Steelers. Yeah.
And what if you're paid? You're paid the whole time. So then you'd have incentive to actually do it because
that's not really a prophecy though. Then that's just
hiring an infant child.
That's just hiring an infant.
Prophecy's a funnier spin, but nepo babies
would be like. I feel like for it to be a prophecy, it has to be like someone down on it's got to be hero's journey type of.
You're right.
Type of trope, starting from the bottom, they hustle and they hit and they never quit, and then one day they're the coach of the Steelers, and then they win, 4 Super Bowls or however many the prophecy says they're gonna win. Maybe it's only one.
One Super Bowl prophecy.
1 Super Bowl prophecy. That's how many Tomlin won.
Yep. He tried to win 2, but the Packers stopped him.
The Packers said no. That was a prophecy as well.
It was. This weekend's going to be a prophecy, bro.
Yeah. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. We can get into the game. We can get into Tomlin.
What did you think? Like, what were your legitimate thoughts when Tomlin stepped down?
Well, first I'm expecting him to get fired. That's the tweet I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see he steps down. I'm like, oh, that's interesting because the Steelers retain his rights. So, like, hypothetically, he could be traded at some point.
Yep, like Sean Payton, take a year off, get traded to a situation where either you have a quarterback or Walmart buys your team and you're the highest, you can get stupidly high paid. Matt, what did you think?
I thought it made sense. I mean, they've been to the playoffs 5 times in the 2020s and gone out in the wild card all 5. And I would say that dang near every single one of those was in kind of like uncompetitive fashion. Maybe the Browns one, they were like pseudo close, but even that game, they started off on the wrong foot and let up like 40-something points. So they, for the most part, have kind of been
in the first quarter.
They've largely been beat down, and it's kind of just the same result every single year. I think Tomlin's a good coach. I think it's hard to consistently keep yourself out of the basement, but like clearly their issue is that they just don't have a quarterback. And you got into this game, and it's like we spent all this time like, oh, is Rodgers better than what they've had before? I think like the answer is like, yeah, he's better than some of the other guys that they've had or whatever. And they can like shuffle around the pieces, and it's not going to be Matt Cannon, it's going to be Arthur Smith, and we're going to bring in Jonnu Smith, and it's going to be DK Metcalf, and all of that stuff. But like ultimately, if somebody at the beginning of the season had said, looks like their offense is going to be about the same, looks like it's going to have about the same problems that it had, it's going to have the limited ceiling, and I'm not really interested in this team. They would have been 1,000% correct. And there's people who have been saying basically that for like 3 years in a row. They need a QB, and I think being this good makes their path to getting a QB pretty bad. It's pretty hard to find one. Now, I don't know if you can then go and be like, well, let's go tank, right? But it definitely feels like their process on building out the offense has been poor, and it's not been helped by the fact that they've never been in a position where it's like, oh, we can take a serious shot at quarterback naturally because we won 5 games this year. We won 3 games this year, something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to go out and intentionally find like a bad head coach and be like, yes, dude, you suck, and then we'll fire you.
Steelers hire Blaiden Kirk.
I would.
And then he trades for Shador instead of taking.
I'd trade for Shador intentionally to be bad.
Yeah, they do need a quarterback though, and I think ultimately,
you know what I would do at quarterback if the Steelers called me.
What would you do?
You know,
Matt Corral. You would fire Matt Corral to be your.
You acting like you don't know what I would do.
Well, I had to think about the 3 agendas. Shador, no. Jalen Hurts, no. I had to say it's like getting to your 3rd read in a progression.
I don't even have a Shador agenda. I just think he's like,
yes, you do, bro.
I think he's like a bottom 5 starter in the league, but
I've heard your Shador takes. You do have a Shador agenda, but
no, I don't. I'm the lowest on Shador Sanders of any Browns fan.
No, there are probably you.
What do you mean?
You're sending me out. You're rage baiting me again.
I'm not rage baiting.
You're sending me down a rabbit hole.
And you.
Do you think the Steelers will or have a chance to be in a better spot next season than they are right now? Like, do you think a new coaching hire can bring them past the wild card round? Like, I think that Tomlin has been holding them back in certain ways. Like, they just have not had great defensive game plans. I think about when they were one-on-one with Chase, and I think about how they always punt on 4th down. And
yeah, I mean, shit like that. It's clear that Tomlin's been coaching forever when he's just got like this really regressive view on like 4th down shit. It's like it's a great way to lose a lot of value, and almost every coach who has been in the league for a long time, I feel like, struggles with that. Older guys just typically, I feel like
hiring Arthur Smith too. Like, how high is your offense going to rank if you went with him?
Exactly. So there's stuff that they could do better, but I also don't think this is like a great roster. So I'm hesitant to be like, this team will be in the divisional round in the AFC, which is a heck of a bar. That's also part of the Steelers' problem, is like, for a lot of these years, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, and you're gunning to be number 4. And even now, it's like, if the Chargers get healthier next year, they're, really good. And if, the Patriots keep on this path and they have a bunch that they could add, and they already have a quarterback, and the Bills are still around, it's like the Ravens might get a new coach. It's like, there's a lot of teams I'd rather be than Pittsburgh on paper. And even if you bring in somebody you feel like is an offensive guru, how do you feel about their offensive personnel right now? Not even just quarterback, on the whole.
Yeah.
Not great. Yeah. How do you feel about the DK contract? Not great. Their defense, it's expensive and old.
Yes, they're the 2nd oldest team in the NFL entering 2025. So it's like, I can't imagine they're the most enticing team to want to go coach for.
Yeah, I think they're a good organization. I think that counts for something. And clearly, like, they're good at picking coaches on some level if you've only had 3 since 1970. I mean, that's about as far as you could stretch it realistically.
Right.
But from a personnel standpoint, from like the actual position of the roster, I guess we'll call it, no, I don't think they're particularly enticing. They're not particularly bad either. But you don't look there and say, like, here's these core handful of long-term pieces that are going to be hard to find in other places, or here's the path to a QB. It almost feels like here's a roster that is probably too good to be really, really bad, and who if I go here, the expectation is we've finished in the wild card a million times and we need to take that next step. and we don't have a path to a QB almost by being good and from the position, and they're firing Tomlin in, which is kind of a rare one. It makes the bar so high for the next coach. Whereas if, I don't know, you go.
Well, they didn't fire Tomlin. He left.
He
on
left.
His own accord.
Yeah.
If you go to, I don't know, I guess Baltimore is not a good example. If you go to Miami, you're going to be given a lot more grace because you're going in there and you've got Tua on this big contract. There's nothing you can do about that. And they won a decent number of games, but like clearly there's some major roster reconstruction. And I feel like you'll have more time for your vision. Whereas, like, you know, you're instantly compared against Tomlin. If they hire a new coach and they win 6 games next year,
They could be fired instantly.
I don't know if they'll be fired year one, but it'll immediately be like you are underperforming. When Dave Canales took over the Carolina Panthers, they won 5 games, and you're like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, that's definitely a really high bar, and Steelers fans are so frustrated at 10-7. What is it going to look like when you're 3-14? And if they weren't the Steelers, this job, I don't think it would be a good job because there is no quarterback and they are so old. So, like, what is the path forward? I think their GMing has been poor. Like, the Ramsey swap looks pretty useless at this point. Maybe he's still good at certain things, but, like, was that really any kind of move that helped you? No. The DK move, is that, and letting Pickens walk, is that a move that helped you?
Move.
No.
That was bad.
Signing Rodgers instead of just letting this be like a Will Howard development year, like, I guess when you have
the Rodgers move isn't the one.
It's not the one that's
me.
bad,
I actually think, like, I guess you look back now and you say, what should they have done? The answer 1 year out is like, shuck, is probably what they should have done.
Sure.
Or even Dart maybe in the first would have been like more, you'd feel better about it than you do about Rodgers right now. But I don't think you necessarily like know for certain about either of those two guys yet, although like there's been some encouraging stuff for sure. But yeah, like they haven't been GM'd well, and I agree from just straight up the roster standpoint and from the expectation standpoint, it's a brutal situation. Mm-hmm. I will say this though, Steelers fans are 1,000% justified in being frustrated with the results. Making the wild card round and losing does not matter at all. It's cool if it's part of your process into becoming a true contender, but a big part of the Steelers' performance in the 2020s is that they have never been seriously contending outside of the time where they were, I guess, like when they were 11-0, you probably wouldn't have said in that moment, like, this team has no chance, but then they collapsed
a lot of people
horrifically.
A lot of people were saying that when they were 11-0 and proven right.
Like really bad. And
Yeah. Regardless, what I'm saying is like, you know, it's easy if you're like a Jets fan or whatever to be like, oh, I wish that was our super bad. But truly, I just think like after a couple of times, it's completely reasonable to be like, I want to feel like we've got a shot. And there's a lot of teams in this year that, are they perfect? No. Do you feel like they have a shot? Yes. Houston Texans, right? You feel like they've got a shot? Yeah. Or dang near any team in the AFC playoffs right now, outside of Pittsburgh and maybe the Chargers, because their offensive line was just so injured. But if they had been healthy, if they hadn't had like 2 all-pro level guys out like that, you probably would have felt like they have a shot if Herbert gets hot and their defense is good. So right. I think they're completely justified.
Yeah. They haven't won a playoff game in a decade with Antonio Brown in his prime, Le'Veon Bell in his prime, TJ Watt in his prime, Cam Hayward, you know, who has won a playoff game, the Browns. The Bengals were in the Super Bowl. Like, you know, I agree with you, but I think it's like perfectly fair.
You know what's going to be hilarious?
What?
When they go 9-8 again and lose in the wild card round.
That would be the funniest shit ever.
They're gonna go 8-9. They're gonna have their first losing season in 20 years, and they're still gonna be out of position to take a quarterback.
That would probably be like, okay, well.
Well, I just don't know what to think about it, because I feel like Tomlin has been bleeding value in certain ways, but I also feel like he's also been overperforming with the roster. So it's like, what is going to happen when you take him out? In some ways, he's been bleeding value. I can see a better offensive staff coming in, maximizing each drive. That would add actual chance to win to your each game that you play.
I don't know.
But at the same time, like
I think this offense is working.
I didn't think this was a 10-7 team.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, on paper, we talked about it in the preseason or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just don't think that their offense looks very good on paper. Now, any team is an offseason away from being totally different. So maybe it's not even really fair it doesn't make sense to talk about what their expectations are for their offense. We don't know the coach. We don't know what they're going to do in the offseason. But, like, my feeling is probably, like, there's more bad outcomes than good.
Yeah.
You can always just nail some 4th-round picks, but there's more bad outcomes than good here, I think.
And go ahead, Blaiden.
I was just going to say, speaking of Arthur Smith, he's getting head coaching interviews? What are we talking about? Why?
Again, we got to find somebody to coach the Cardinals, dude. Like,
Arthur Smith?
There's 9 openings, and the only good candidate is Stefanski.
No, I can give Monken a little more credit than that.
Monken? Maybe Monken.
Would you rather have Monken or Harbaugh?
That's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know. I'm joking around, but I guess my last point was going to be the Steelers are really dependent on the health of Joe Burrow, honestly, and Lamar Jackson. Like, if those guys are going to be injured for the entire or half the year, then the Steelers really have a chance to go 10-7, and if they aren't, then they don't have a chance to do that.
It is a guarantee that those guys are going to be hurt for.
Yeah, fair enough.
Between the two of them, they're probably missing 8 games a year.
Fair enough. We've been talking about the Steelers a long time, and we should probably keep talking about them a little bit because they played a playoff game against the Houston Texans.
Well, yeah, this is why Tomlin stepped down. I mean, I thought that their offense, again, was too limited. Rodgers, he can't create. He's too old. He's 42 or whatever, bless his heart. So against a brutal pass rush, he's not going to be able to get out of the pocket and make something happen. And the solution to a lot of that is, throw short, check it down a lot. But the Texans are a defense that just closes in on those too much for it to really be viable. And, then you factor in some DK drops, and then it's Calvin Austin deep ball, and that's not a winning formula.
That was bizarre.
Against a defense like this. It was multiple times, and then he just got bullied down there, dude. I'm sorry. That's just not his game in the slightest. And it's not when you're going to win against these Texans cornerbacks. Of course, their offensive struggles, or not their offensive struggles. Of course, Stroud had a disaster game. As far as I'm concerned, there was a point where he kind of rebounded or whatever, but some of the fumbles were bizarre where it's he kind of had a decent amount of time, and I feel like at worst he should have just taken a sack, but he kept trying to pull off throws that just weren't there, and he was, that missed to Nico Collins. They couldn't get the snap off, although I don't think that was all his fault. Sometimes the snap was just coming when he wasn't expecting it, and then that counted as a fumble. So I think he ended up with 5 or something horrible like that. It's not exactly representative of the game that he played, but he had his worst game under pressure that you could have envisioned. It doesn't really matter because Pittsburgh's offense couldn't outscore the Texans' defense, but it was still not great to see if you're kind of getting ready. Let's say you predicted the Texans to go to a Super Bowl. Wasn't an awesome look in that sense.
You don't think so? Because I feel like the defense was so good and they won by so much. You don't feel better about their chance to make a run?
I think Pittsburgh's offense is. Yeah, they're not going to play a worse offense than this, I don't think. I mean, they're definitely not. So, I mean, obviously there's potential for them to just go off the back of their defense, and there's potential for Stroud to play better than this. This was as bad as it can get, dang near. But no, I don't think you want to see Stroud have a performance like that. And I guess we're sitting back here before the divisional round saying that about a lot of teams that played. It's you won, but You either had a major injury, which is Nico Collins going to be good to go?
We don't know. We do not
don't
know.
If
But
Nico
he didn't
Collins
practice
isn't
today.
playing,
He didn't practice today, and Gonzalez did.
it's not great. Like, that's a pretty big loss in itself, and it doesn't make me feel like Stroud is going to play significantly better. I also don't feel like Pittsburgh's defense is wildly better than what they're going to be facing going forward. It could very well be
Worse.
It could be Patriots, Denver, Seattle as the run that you've got to go on. And I don't know. I guess all of those teams, well, not all of them, but a couple of those teams that also have great defenses, like have quarterbacks that are a little bit untrustworthy or whatever. But no, I don't think you loved what you saw if you were a Texans fan. It's a big playoff win. I don't want to be that again. Yeah, their defense is crazy.
I know one
It's a
Texans.
crazy
If Stroud had played better, they would have won by 50.
I know one Texans fan, and he texted me. He texted the group chat, "We're winning the Super Bowl" after that game. So I don't know if they are feeling worse.
Their defense is crazy. It's just like it was such a bad Stroud game, and it was such a bad game in like the exact way you were worried about. It would be one thing if he just like tried a couple of throws that weren't there or whatever, or like a contested ball went the wrong way. But it was at like he was just a disaster under pressure for a lot of this thing. So it could be better. Don't assume that any one game is going to necessarily just be like how it plays out for the rest of the time and we already know everything. But yeah, it's not good.
Here's a stat for you. They had a 44.7% early down pass rate. So that's first and second down. That's the third lowest of the first round. Going into this year, so 2022 through 2024, they had a 63.5% early down pass rate in their multiple wildcard games. So they really got heavy, got under center, and ran it with Woody Marks. They did not put the ball in Stroud's hand, and when they did, he fucked it up. And Woody Marks had a career high in rushing, like 127 rushing yards, I think, and a touchdown. So if they could get in that big mode and run the ball like that,
they've been running better.
They have been running better.
Better running.
It's a big offensive line, like Trent Brown and Howard as a tackle now with Ursary next to him. Like that is a lot of big boys who can get downhill and create some movement. But I also think like watching the film on those run plays, like the Steelers linebackers are just like in the complete wrong spot on some of them.
Well, it's Patrick Queen, dude. Like
yes. It's Patrick Queen, and it's worse than Patrick Queen, actually. It's Malik Harrison, which is substantially worse than Patrick Queen. That guy, whenever he sees the field, there is a massive weakness on the field for your defense. So, and like Ramsey as a safety, not the best run fitter in the world. Good maybe tackler in the flat, but reading out his gaps, like there was just way too much really easy 7-8 yard gains for that Steelers defense that maybe the Patriots can dial in a little bit more. Because, the Patriots' defensive tackles are pretty crazy against the run. Like Barmore and Milton Williams, they're kind of brick walls, and they can prevent you from climbing.
So glad they have Barmore back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge deal. What do you think will happen in this game? It is the number one offense by EPA per play versus the number 2 defense by EPA per play. It is probably the biggest unit on unit matchup of the divisional round. It will be one of the biggest of the rest of the playoffs. When those 2 units are on the field, like what do you guys think is going to happen?
Well, we kind of have seen this a little bit before when the Patriots played Cleveland. Facing Myles Garrett, Matt Brown's defense, a very similar pass rush in terms of aggression. Not Caleb. Drake May got sacked 5 times in that game.
He did.
But they still put up a ton of points. And I think, it's weird because a lot of other teams, when they face this type of a pass rush, they try and run the ball a lot. They try and take the ball out of the quarterback's hands. They try and get the ball out quickly. But the Patriots didn't do that. And I thought their aggressiveness throwing was very interesting. And I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Like, put the ball in Drake May's hands and just let him make the decisions. And if he takes a sack every now and then, okay, cool. You know he can get you out of those 3rd and long plays. He's one of the most efficient in the NFL at it.
I think that's good analysis.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think he's going to take some pressure. He's going to take some sacks for sure. I mean, against the Chargers, he did, and we've seen him get banged up and get sacked like a decent number of times this year, regardless. So I don't see why it would be any different against Houston. But I do think May is overall aggressive enough. I think his placement on deep throws is good enough that even against super tight coverage, he's going to give his guys a chance. Now, obviously, I'm taking the Texans' corners over the Patriots' wide receivers, but can May do enough both in that sense and in the sense, like, can he keep drives alive with, like, big rushing plays? I think that's also available to him. If he was a guy that's coming out here and just trying to, like, get the ball out of his hands and throw it short and dink and dunk, I feel like that's a tough way to live against Houston. Obviously, you can do a better job of it than, like, the Steelers did, of course. Like, there's more to it than just that, but I think May's really good. I think being aggressive is the way to go. I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but
yeah.
I do feel decent about May pulling off a couple of big plays.
Yeah, I feel really decent about it. Usually when it's these top offense versus top defense situations, you should bet on offense. And that's the way I felt, but I figured I might as well get some numbers to go along with that. I found 6 instances of a top 2 EPA offense going up against a top 2 EPA defense in the playoffs. The offense teams are 5-1 and they score 30.7 points per game. It's Denver versus Buffalo last year. Buffalo was a number 2 offense. Denver was the number 2 defense. Buffalo wins 31-7. KC versus Buffalo in the 13 seconds game. KC was a top offense that year. They were actually second, and Buffalo was the number 1 EPA defense. That was a 42-36 final score, a shootout. Green Bay in 2020 when Rodgers won MVP versus Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and the Rams. Top offense versus top defense. Green Bay wins 32-18. 2019, Kansas City versus San Francisco in the Super Bowl. San Francisco, number 1. Wait, they're both number 2. They're both number 2. KC wins 31-20. 2017, New England versus Jacksonville. Miles Jack wasn't down game. New England wins 24-20. The one W for the defense.
You know,
do you have a guess what game it is? This goes back to 2016, by the way. I should have told you.
Oh,
it goes back to 2016
season or 2016 the playoffs that happened in the 2016
season. So the 2017 playoffs. This is the 2017 season. 2018.
I had assumed that it was Carolina losing to Denver.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl.
No. This is it doesn't go back that far. This is a 2017 game. Any guesses?
Not off the top of my head.
It's the Minneapolis Miracle. Zimmer and the Vikings beat Breeze and the Saints. And that is the one time since 2016 the top 2 defense has prevailed over the top 2 offense. And it took some shenanigans. It definitely took some shenanigans. But usually it's really the offense, and usually it's not even that close. So I'm going offense. I'm going with offense here. I think
I picked Houston to make the Super Bowl, and I still feel like they're a team that can go on a run, and I think Stroud can play better, but I think I lean Patriots in this game. I won't lie. I think they looked a little bit better last week, and I don't want to totally deny, like, if that's how Stroud's going to be under pressure, I think they're going to have issues. And I totally agree that I think the Patriots could do a lot better a job against the run than what Pittsburgh did.
Yeah, and I think Blaiden, I totally agree with your May analysis of, like, they actually need somebody. A quarterback needs to be brave and hold the ball. Like, as hard as it is, and as scary as a strip sack
run
is,
too, you know,
and he can run.
And he ran 7 times against Cleveland for 50 yards. He gashed us, man. Like, he had he ripped off a 28-yarder, and, like,
for sure. And it's something that Rodgers, if he was able to do that, it would be a whole different ball game. And even watching the tape,
the math.
If watching the tape, I thought there were a lot of opportunities. Like, I thought Houston was almost a little bit too aggressive against the flats, and there was some stuff open deep or intermediate with like Tua just flying downhill, or Alshire just flying downhill. But where does Rodgers go with the football in that situation? He goes underneath and his guys get crushed.
Yeah, he just goes to his first read and the ball's out, you know?
And it's like, man, if he could stand in there are these opportunities down the field. Now, the Texans know the game plan. They know the Steelers. They know what's going to happen. So that probably increased their aggressiveness downhill. But like, man, someone like May, if you plopped him in that Steelers game, I feel like the Steelers win that game if it's him over Rodgers. They get up to a bigger lead in the first half, and the fourth quarter doesn't go down the way that it did. Right. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots in this one. I have the Patriots going to the Super Bowl, and now that the Eagles aren't in it, I might as well pick them to win it.
Oh, Blaiden. So, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Next year. It's my own fault. It's my own fault. I shouldn't have picked Kevin Patullo to go to a Super Bowl.
Who also got fired?
Yeah, he did. But Sirianni, still there. For now.
Still there.
For now. Yeah. No, I guess it's fair to like keep him around. I mean, he has been to multiple Super Bowls. They've won one, so I can't totally hate on it. Up next, Bills, Broncos. We were going to go in chronological order here, but we were already talking about the Steelers, and then we got into the Texans. Bills versus Broncos. Josh Allen, kind of another high-octane offense, but it solely really feels like it's on Allen's shoulders, and this run game, of course, with James Cook has been outstanding against one of the best defenses in football in Denver. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, last time it went like the Bills rolling, right? 31-7, like I mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And I this is a matchup that I had, and I picked Buffalo, and I'm going to stick with Buffalo. But I don't know if it's gonna be as lopsided, because I don't think that this Bills offense is even as good as it was last year, and I do think that the Denver defense with their personnel is a little bit better, mostly because Hufanga will be in the box, and I think that's something they really could have used. The big storyline kind of going into this is Buffalo missing Tyrell Shavers, who tore his ACL, and Gabe Davis. Yeah. So if you go down the depth chart, it's going to be Keon, and it's going to be Khalil Shakir for sure. And then their other guy in 11 personnel is going to have to be Curtis Samuel, Matt. It's going to have to be Curtis Samuel or Mecole Hardman.
Not on IR?
I think they just activated him.
Oh, okay.
So not ideal, right? Not ideal. I guess there's Brandon Cooks, though.
Sure.
So, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, it's Shakir, Cooks, Coleman, and maybe Samuel.
Okay, so I guess if those guys play 100% in 11 personnel, you're probably good.
I don't think you are. I don't think you're good at all. Congrats on Cooks had that big catch, but like that was a busted coverage.
Yeah.
It wasn't like some great play by Cooks down the field. I think that these receivers are going to get locked up. Heavy man coverage against guys who are way better than them, cornerback-wise. I think that Denver isn't going to have to sell out to stop the run. And that makes me question how the play action's going to go. It's a lot of the questions that I had against Jacksonville, but I think against a much, much better defense, if I'm being honest with you. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying this because I'm a Buffalo hater, because I understand, like, Allen's rushing ability is such an X factor. And when you go scramble drill, like cornerbacks, it's just a hard world to live in. But they have the tools to get to Allen, pretty quickly and make things tough there. And while I think he can go superhero and save them, I don't want to be like, well, that's just what's going to happen. And then we happen to be sitting here next episode, and it turns out like the defense just got better of an offense that's kind of outmatched talent around the quarterback. And we have to say, well, what could Allen have really done? That's where I don't want to end up in 3 or 4 days. I think it should be a really close game, because I frankly have little faith in the Broncos offense too, on paper here. I mean, their rush game, I was hoping as the year went on that it got better, and it's stalled out. And Nick's scramble drill as well. If he can get the ball out quickly, maybe that's okay. But if he's running around, the results are very mixed. And against Buffalo's secondary, that makes me relatively nervous. So I don't know. I'm not sitting here saying I feel awesome about it. Maybe this will be another slugfest too, where it only takes a couple of plays to get this thing done. But we've also seen a game like that play out very recently, and the Eagles ended up getting the best of this Buffalo team, 13-12. So we've seen that formula play out. It didn't go the Bills' way. Obviously, that's a completely different game against a completely different team, but it wouldn't shock me if it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that game definitely is concerning in the back of your head if you're a Buffalo fan, because you just it's not like Allen can just always save you. It's not like, oh well, he doesn't matter what happens. He's just always that good. Right. He's always this unstoppable force.
Well, I have a lot of concern about Allen's health, dude. I mean, the way he was getting killed in Jacksonville. If they keep playing him, I'm not saying he's going to get hurt, but you have to be careful a little bit of just
I actually completely disagree. I'm not
saying they should stop doing that. That's I get that's what he is, but
they shouldn't get him injured. That I agree with.
I'm just saying the beating that he was taking against
it's definitely something to be concerned with. I just do think when we talk about a game, obviously any of the 4 games that we're talking about today, there's one that I think is there's a real decent favorite, and the rest I think are all very easily within a play of each other, one thing breaking one way, of course. But when you're into a game where it's super high leverage, it's going to come down to just a handful of high leverage moments, having a guy like Allen who makes you feel comfortable on a 3rd and 2 that there's just not many worlds where you're not going to be able to sneak it a couple times and pick that thing up, or you're not going to get on the goal line and have to settle for 3 because you're going to be able to use this superhuman quarterback. You want to protect your dude. It's more than just this season, but now is the time to have that guy go Superman mode.
Oh,
so
absolutely. If he breaks a finger, slamming it on a guy's helmet in throwing motion, right? I mean, that's what happened in the last game. He didn't break it.
It doesn't make me think they should change the way they call their offense, but it does make it more likely that he just can't finish the game or plays bad. And if that happens, there's just not much the Bills can do. I mean, he's listed on the injury report this week with a foot injury, a knee injury, and a finger injury. So this is a very banged up Allen playing a very good defense. And it's not just Allen could play great forever, but he can play great. He can play great.
Yes.
Or he can play great forever, actually. He can't will you to a win forever. It's not just going to be no matter what happens, if the defense gets cooked, if the run game can't get going, we're still going to win just because we have Josh Allen. It's not like that.
It's you're good, right, dude? His legs in the other room. It's yeah, man, I got it.
I will be very interested to see the Bills' offensive line and just how different they are from last year, because last year this was a pretty easy win because they were able to get 6 offensive linemen out there who are all good run blockers. They were able to run those heavy looks. They were able to toss the ball. They were able to toss the ball to Cook, and all their second level players would connect. And they were just a very athletic offensive line who was dominant. Allen only got sacked. He took a sack in that game, and it was the second sack he had taken in the last 8 games, right? I don't think their offensive line is playing like that this year. So last year, even though the Broncos had a really good run defense coming into this game, and even though they played heavy, they just could not get stretched out and out-athlete Cook and these offensive linemen when they got to those tosses. And this year, is that answer just going to automatically be there for them, or is Spencer Brown just not the same right now? Or, do they have a 6th offensive lineman, or is it going to be Shakir? It is not Shakir. Is it going to be Kincaid and Dawson Knox in 12 the whole game instead of that 6 offensive lineman? are they going to have that same success on the ground? And then is Patrick Surtain going to be able to impact the game in a way he just wasn't really able to do last year? This is what I'm concerned about, because the numbers for the Denver run defense versus the Jacksonville run defense are like the exact same. And they could not really run the ball against Jacksonville last week. It's outside of QB sneaks.
Yeah, that's what concerns me as much as anything. I just think on some level for the offense to work outside of Allen Hero ball, it's off of this run game that you've invested so greatly in. It didn't look good last week, and you're going up against another good defense.
And definitely a better defense.
But and definitely a better defense, right? So I guess I'm concerned that eventually the reality of where this group is talent-wise is going to catch up with them. But I think Allen's the best quarterback in the playoffs, and I think that goes a long way.
And where does Bo Nix rank for you?
Among quarterbacks left in the playoffs?
How about right now? Quarterbacks left in the playoffs.
I'd say probably last off the top of my head. Am I?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I'd say probably 8. And he can have it if he can make a couple of big plays outside of the pocket, take off as much as he's allowed, and not take sacks, and not make any no turnovers. Obviously, that's key, but not having the key blunder. If he can do that, it's a fine game from him. There's worlds where he's able to pull that off for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's the driver of success for Denver overall this season as much as the defense is. I think that's fair to say.
Right. If there was a good player in the Broncos backfield, I would feel so much better about them. If it was Bo Nix and even J.K. Dobbins, I would say the Bills are in some serious trouble here, but it's not. It's him and Jaleel McLaughlin, or him and R.J. Harvey. And that's just a very young and unproductive two players to take advantage of a Bills defense that is weak against the run, certainly, but really, really strong against the pass. And what I'll give Sean Payton credit for, if pin pull is working, he's going to call pin pull 100 million times, right? I don't think he's going to get too cute with that, maybe like Cohen did. I think he's going to call a variation of some sort of perimeter run like a trillion million times in this game. And maybe that'll be enough, just better run play calling. But if Josh Allen is putting up any kind of points and it becomes a shootout, I don't know about Nix. And I think the running backs in Denver, they just get what's blocked and they don't get much more. And so I don't know if they'll be able to punish the bad run defense enough, because Allen, with everything we've said, is still probably putting up 23 points. Probably. Sure. I can trust it. He doesn't have to win the game by himself, but he probably will put up a healthy amount that you have to overcome.
Yeah. But just getting what's blocked. I mean, if you're just staying on schedule, that's fine. If you can keep the ball out of Allen's hands, that's fine.
Yeah.
You'll take that.
It is. They have played a decrepit Chiefs team in week 17, a decrepit Chargers team in week 18, and didn't exactly light it up. And the game before that, they got lit up by the Jaguars. So they're not really going into the playoffs super hot. There's debate here in Denver about how much they were trying in those last two games because they were going up against such weak teams. But on the other hand, they were fighting for the 1 seed. So I kind of think they were probably trying pretty hard and weren't being vanilla on purpose or anything like that. So you
don't want to give the playoff teams your secrets, your tricks.
Yeah, but you got to be the 1 seed.
I think Denver, they're my pick. I mean, it's razor thin. They're my pick, but I think they weren't trying against the Chiefs when they were still alive for the 1 seed. Is cope. They played a bad game.
I think there are some Denver sports talk people who are coping for sure.
This is true though. You are hearing Denver sports talk highest level of bias.
Yes.
Whereas, like, we're not hearing that. I'm sure there's the same people who talk about Buffalo like that. We just don't hear.
Oh yeah. I mean,
we don't live there.
referring to Philip Lindsay is who I was hearing talking about. Like Sean Payton was vanilla. He wasn't breaking out his best stuff in those games, and that's why they didn't put up a lot of points. That's Philip Lindsay on my drive.
He has a Denver sports talk show.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, he's a legend. He went to Boulder and then played for the Broncos, right? And never fumbled and was super reliable. And now he's a sports talk radio co-host. There's Schlereth too. Look, the Denver sports talk is not giving me any confidence to pick them. Like if they can think of a good reason why they'll win this game, they cannot articulate it well. Like they're the underdogs right now. And they're like, well, they are the underdogs. And they're like, well, how can this be? And they're like, well, Josh Allen is a known commodity and we're just unknown. They don't know us. And that's why we're underdogs. It's like, we've seen you for 18 weeks, bro. And last year too, where you're the exact same team.
I think they're slight favorites if I'm not
they're
mistaken.
favorites.
Did the line? They were talking about being underdogs on the radio. Maybe they don't know.
They lied, big.
They mean sort of in the ecosystem.
Maybe they were talking about in the ethos. Well,
in the ethos for sure.
Yeah.
They're dogs.
They're dogs. They're spiritual underdogs because people don't really know about
because
them.
of the ethos.
I think they're speaking straight up from the heart. That I don't think we'll win because I haven't seen us win before. And then they say what comes out of their mouth. You don't think we'll win because you haven't seen us do it before.
I mean, I will say both teams are minus money to bet on.
Wow, it's close.
Yeah. Minus 116 for
what is
Broncos.
the spread in the New England game?
Probably like 3.
3?
Yeah.
3.
Patriots are
favoring the Patriots. Yeah,
it'll probably go
Broncos
up to 3 or 3.5 or 4 if Nico's
Broncos. I know are. Yeah, and then it's like 7 for Seattle. They're the big favorites this week, and then it's like 3 for
3.5
the Rams.
I agree with all of that. I'd say.
Yeah, it usually sounds about right. I think 3 of those games are within like a special teams mishap, and one of them is within a very big special teams mishap.
Ooh, yeah, special teams. Sean Payton faked a punt last year in that playoff game. Is he going to fake a field? I think if there's any team that's going to like fake a field
quite as much like an underdog, but who knows? I could see that move.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be at home, and they're the they're the 1 seed. So
they're the 1 seed.
I don't think it's quite the same scenario as when they got in last year. Do we want to move on to 49ers Seahawks?
We do.
Blaiden, who are you picking? Who are you picking in the?
I'm taking Denver.
I'm going to stick with Buffalo, and I'm going to say it's an unnecessary expectation that Josh Allen puts the team on his back, but he will do it. I am expecting it.
I picked against Buffalo in the wild card. Maybe it's wrong for me to do it again, but I'm going to.
And if you pick against Denver, then like you really picked against the 1 seed. There's you got to call it.
Either way, you're the moron or you're the smart guy. But as you all know, the divisional round of the playoffs is here, and FanDuel is turning on playoff mode. All customers get a profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Each game day during the divisional round, you'll find a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts waiting for you in the app. Pick the matchups you believe in, whether it's the Broncos over the Bills, whether it's the Patriots over the Texans. Take your shot on an upset even, or build a parlay that fits the moment. Then apply your profit boost and go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Disclaimer: must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit Gambling Helpline MA or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. the 49ers are going to need a lot of hope and a lot of devil magic with Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh to pull off this win against Seattle. They've made it this far, and it's super impressive. Again, we've talked about if they won 6 games this year with the injuries that they've had, we would be like, we get it, dude. But Kyle Shanahan has been in his bag this year. Robert Saleh's been in his bag this year, and they've been able to do a lot with really very little. And they're sitting here 12-5 in the divisional round of the playoffs against the 1 seed in the NFC, who they got smoked by in the battle for the 1 seed a little bit earlier, a couple weeks ago. Do you think they get revenge, or are we going to see a repeat?
I don't know if the 49ers front and linebackers are where they need to be to stop the Seahawks from just running the ball and building off of that kind of like they want to. That's my big concern, honestly. I mean, they didn't get smoked by Seattle's offense, which is impressive in itself. I guess they didn't give up like a bunch of monster plays or whatnot, but I just think the defense is probably too far away from where it needs to be. And on the other side of the ball, I mean, without Kittle now too, they struggled to run the ball. They've really not been super efficient running the ball in general. And I just feel like you look at the Seattle defense, is it going to be easy for them to just play really downhill on anything? Or are the 49ers going to be able to like open things up deep and try to spread out the Seattle defense? I question that. I question whether or not you can stop Seattle from getting at least semi-comfortable in the run. I think the Seahawks have a pretty good chance in this one.
Yeah, I think
200 yards of total offense in the last game is tough to overcome.
Yeah, the Seahawks will have to sell, basically, is what's going to happen. The 49ers can play their absolute best game, and it won't matter if the Seahawks play their best game, too.
Right.
So Kubiak is someone to keep an eye on. Like, you want to run the ball, but don't run it too much, man. If Zach Charbonnet is averaging 4 yards a carry on the dot, you don't run it every second and long. All right. If it's not going that way, like, don't overuse it and punt. At the same time, I guess my question will be, how much do they trust Sam Darnold at this point, and how much can Saleh confuse him? Because that's going to be, they have to take the ball away from Sam Darnold. They had 0 interceptions in the Week 18 game, and you're not going to beat the Seahawks without a Darnold disaster class, I think. Mm-hmm. So Saleh doesn't like to change up much. He doesn't like to blitz. He doesn't like to do all these crazy rotations. But this week, it's going to have to be crazy.
It'd be a good week to give it a try. And you're a pretty big underdog. You're really not supposed to win any game you play from here on out, because you're just going to be at such a talent disadvantage when you could make the argument you're missing your 3 best players, or at least 3 of your 5 best players, right? No one should be expected to overcome that.
For Fred Warner.
Yeah, Warner could potentially maybe play.
That'd be crazy.
I don't think
be
he
a
would
pretty
end up
tough
playing
assignment.
This one, if he played,
it's for the championship game.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be. Yeah, it wouldn't be for this one. That's right. Regardless, it's tough to be as banged up as they are. Of course. I worry about too is their pass rush at the level where they're going to consistently be able to put Darnold in distress that generates a lot of those turnovers. Yeah. I just don't think, like, with no Bosa, no Warner, no Kittle, that they're in the best spot to go up against, a team that's gettable on offense, but you kind of need to generate some chaos, and a team that's really, really good on defense, where you've got to go up against, maybe the best in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the plan is Fred Warner, you're playing, buddy. If you think that there's any kind of chance, you're playing. We're blitzing to generate that pressure, and we're dropping in front of the slant window for JSN as much as we possibly can. And if Saleh wants to be a head coach in this cycle, now is the time to prove it, because if he coaches a really, really good game, the Seahawks will still probably win, but you might be the one who gets the interceptions. But Like this Seahawks defense is just so good. I think it's even better than the Texans. I actually think this is the best defense in the playoffs. As good as Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter and the edge duo are, I feel like the Seahawks lack the same kind of like hair on fire aggression that the Texans have, but I honestly think it's a good thing. Like, I think there's more depth in the secondary. I think there's less windows. I think that they are just, I think McDonald has done a slightly better job even coaching them a little bit. I think their linebackers are a little bit better. And that's no disrespect to Houston whatsoever, but numerically, this team is better than the Legion of Boom defense by DVOA this year. Like, the Legion of Boom, the only reason we know who they are is because they went on to win the Super Bowl and blank Peyton Manning and them, right? That they would not be anything if it wasn't for that. So the Seahawks still has to go on that kind of playoff run.
You know,
they were on the cover of Madden. If Leonard Williams wants to be on the cover of Madden, he better go win the Super Bowl. Okay, so they still have a lot less to prove, but like, geez, they are the hottest. They are one of the hottest teams in football right now. Sam Darnold, as much as he struggles to win the big one, and as much as I don't trust him, they have won 3 straight games to close the season versus the Rams, a playoff team, versus the Panthers, a playoff team, and versus the 49ers, a playoff team.
Yep.
And then before that, it was 37-9 wins and 26-0 wins against the Falcons and Vikings, who are not playoff teams, but they're playing decent football by the end. So they're on a roll right now defensively. They're going to snuff out McCaffrey. He had 8 attempts for 23 yards on the ground in the Week 18 matchup. Like, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Jawan Jennings to complete passes.
They're going to have to get so creative. I mean, this Seahawks defense just isn't that easily fooled. It is interesting to compare them to Houston because I feel like they're sort of inversely built a little bit. Like the superstars for Houston are all on the outside, right? It's the edge rushers in the corners, and then the superstars for Seattle are all kind of on the inside a little bit.
Yeah.
The interior defensive linemen, the safeties, but
no doubt. I think the Houston has like the really high end playmakers, like Anderson, obviously off the edge, would be defensive player of the year in a non-Garrett year, right?
Sure.
The Seahawks maybe don't have any player of the year candidates, but man, they have the depth when guys rotate out, like it's just better guys coming in, like, oh, D-Law and Uchenna Nwosu are tired. Here comes Boye Mafe, right? Who can still kind of pin his ears back. Or here comes Jerron Reed. Or maybe the Texans have some Jerron Reed guys, but when the Texans B team comes in, when the 3 amigos come in, it's not quite like the platoon shifts of Seattle. You can feel that B team rusher a lot more. Also, I was looking this up. I'm railing now. But the B team comes in a lot. That was another thing I noticed when I was watching the Steelers game, is like there's a lot less Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter on the field at the same time than you'd expect, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed a little bit of that.
Anderson played 68% of the snaps this year. 68's not like that high. Garrett was at 82%. And Parsons was at like 77, and this was his first year below 80. 68% is like, there's a lot of Derek Barnett out there for Houston, and then he comes in fresh on third downs.
Anderson and Hunter both playing at such a high level, you probably feel fine just having one of them out there and giving the other a little bit of rest.
Yeah. For sure. But definitely watching the Steelers game, it's like they took a decent amount of shots in that game. It's like, how are they taking these shots? It's like, oh, Anderson's not out there. Yeah. And Hunter's not out there. Like, neither of them are out there on this 1st and 10. And that's when you hit the play action and have a chance for a big play.
Right.
The Seahawks don't really, like, I don't even feel like they have that weakness of like, oh, it's 1st and 10. They have their way worse B team out there. It's like, oh, here comes just their depth, which is so good.
Yeah, I'm taking Seattle in this one. Even though I'm nervous. I think the 49ers can find a way, They definitely have it in them, but I'm not going to pick it to happen.
Yeah, they're up against another Coach of the Year candidate instead of Sirianni and his Island of Misfit Toys. So I don't think they'll get a win off with a talent disadvantage off like out coaching. I am going Seattle, and I think that I think Seattle can even cover this spread, to be honest.
This is probably the best coaching matchup in the playoffs.
Ooh. Yeah, I think it is, definitely. I think it is.
Ben Johnson and McVay is a good one, too.
There's a lot of good coaching matchups. There's a lot of good coaches left.
I think it's only good coaches left. I don't think.
Typically, the good coaches make it this far.
Maybe McDermott, but he's doing a pretty good job right now.
Yeah. But
honestly, the worst coach left, here's the take. After what I saw the wild card round, the worst coach left is Ben Johnson. He's too young.
He's too young.
He's too young. Going for it on 4th and 4 from your 30.
Hey, I'd do that.
I'd do it in Madden.
I do it in Madden too.
I do it in Madden, but also like it's a lot lower stakes. I just turn the PS5 off and go make dinner or something. I'm not.
Go get some ice cream.
I don't care.
Do you think my take is crazy?
I think there's a lot of good You'd rather have McDermott than Ben Johnson? I think I'd rather have Ben Johnson.
I think I'd rather have Ben Johnson, but I think he's too young right now. I think he showed some youngness in that first game.
Okay. Well, if it's that, then I guess it's hard to exactly argue against. I don't think Josh is the worst. But
yeah. By my definition,
he's
by your definition,
he's the worst coach right now, but he won't always be.
He's a valuable asset. He's a more valuable asset, but in terms of coaching the playoff game, I don't know. He was just making some crazy decisions in that first game.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that.
You know who had the worst early down pass rate or the lowest early down pass rate of wildcard weekend? It was the Bears. They were running that rock in the first half on 1st and 2nd down.
They do.
Just run.
They do like to run the ball.
They do like to run the ball. It's got to be out the window in this game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You play like you're down by 10 as soon as the game starts. Like Caleb, 50 passing attempts, no matter, even if it's a close game the whole time, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know. I feel like their run game helps set up the Caleb boot a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't know. I don't think you have to be particularly good at running the football. That's something that, like, the example was, like, the 2019 Patriots. They were, like, bottom 10 in rushing success, but their play action success was, like, the highest in the league just because they ran it so often. All their runs and play actions looked the same. So I don't think it's, like, a total loss to be like, and they have success running because they have this good offensive line. But, I get against this Rams defensive line is...
Well, if the Rams have been... people have been able to grind a little bit against
true.
LA. So how much are they going to try to sell out to stop that? And then if so, does that leave a secondary that is, kind of shaky on a little bit more of an island? That's my question. And how does these receivers more Burden, Adunze? There's nobody in there who's just like an automatic world beater, but there's a lot of potential to go have big games. And then on top of that, like Loveland. What's the answer for Loveland? I still think that Chicago is like kind of mistake prone, either from being too aggressive or Caleb, like obviously is a huge X factor and a huge problem to deal with, but is certainly not like a perfectly clean player here just 2 years into his career. But I would say that's like the overall big question is how do they adjust against the Bears run? Because preferably you would just build the run game and then go off of that. And if so, who is the weapon that gets targeted? Because we've clearly seen, like, if they don't have an answer for Loveland, he could get 15 targets easily. They have no problem doing that. Now, I think LA's defense is a lot better than the Packers, certainly. But still, we've seen their struggles.
It's a lot better, but I mean, think about how the Panthers looked versus the Seahawks versus how they looked versus the Rams. Like against the Panthers, it seemed like for the Rams, Carolina had too many weapons. It's like, how can we defend both Coker and McMillan? There's too many weapons. And now you're up against Loveland and you're up against Burden and you're up against Adunze and DJ Moore. It's like, well, this team actually has too many weapons. Plus Caleb Williams, who can push the ball downfield if they do go for it. 4th and 5 deep in their own territory. Like, this is somebody who can not only escape the pocket, but actually complete a pass once he does. So
right.
I'm very concerned about this Rams defense defending the play action game, the in-breaker game. I just think that if it's not working on the first drive, or even this should be the game plan, maybe going into the game, is we don't have to establish the run to hit the play action. We're going to get crossers immediately and often over the course of this thing. Like, I think they should
necessarily establish the run to create the play action. I agree with that, because you could, but you have to run it. You have to run it eventually to keep them on.
Eventually, of course. But like, think about the Jaguars. They were running it efficiently, but they only ran it 8 times against the Bills. Now they lost that game, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad idea to keep it in Lawrence's hands 100%. And that was against a great pass defense and a bad run defense.
Right.
And this is probably a better run defense than it is a secondary. So, like, you can run it 8 times in the first half and really have this be a Caleb Williams game. I think if the Bears want any chance of winning the Super Bowl, it can't be coming back from down over and over and over again. It's going to have to be shootouts the whole time, but it can't be coming back from being down over and over and over again. Like, if you're so good at coming back, start with the second half game plan. Act like you're down already if you play better when you're losing. So I don't want much Swift and Monungai.
Come back twice. Come back in the first and the second half.
Duo.
You need to give them the ball. You need to just give them the ball on the first drive so that you can go down 3-0 and then come back from that.
Defer, let them score.
Let them
play the whole game down. And then get the second half kickoff too.
Yes, exactly.
How about, I mean, I don't even feel like there's much to say about the Rams offense versus the Bears defense, just because, like, Jordan Love had the best game from an EPA standpoint of any of the first round quarterbacks, right? Yeah. He was picking up yardage kind of at will, big explosive chunks to Dobbs, to Golden. Like Stafford and Puka Nacua, like, how is it not going to be the same thing?
Yeah, I really question how they're going to deal with LA's weapons. And maybe there's something to, like, let's see if we can heat up Stafford. Let's see if we can try to get him off of his spot and see what happens. And just be super aggressive. Like, you kind of wish Carolina had been the entire game. But even then, you get too aggressive, and Stafford might be slow, but he's not stupid. He's played a lot of football. He's got a lot of trustworthy guys who can win off the line very quickly. It feels like it's something that could get you some big plays, but maybe can't be like a snap in, snap out game plan without also having a couple of big ones broken, off on top of you. So, yeah, I think the path to the Bears winning is certainly high scoring more than low scoring, of course. And I think this will be a high scoring game. But I also think for the issues that the Rams defense has, their pass rush is still really good. And Caleb obviously does a great job not taking sacks, but it doesn't mean that he's not significantly worse under pressure like every single quarterback in the NFL is. So I still like the Rams in this one more, I think.
Yeah, I think the Rams could easily get to 40 points. The Bears really started blitzing the Packers at the second half, and that kind of took them out of their under center game. It took them out of their kind of play action game because they wanted just better visuals on potential blitzers. They never wanted Love turning his back to things. And that is kind of what lost him the game was that adjustment that Dennis Allen made, and just the Packers' inability to pick up those blitzes, and their inability to make the adjustment. Like, is it possible that, like, yeah, the Bears play a bad half and the Rams don't, and then this time Sean McVay just outcoaches, like, they're able to run the ball from under center against the blitzer. They're able to pick up those blitzes and they don't bog down, like, or they're just able to run the ball from shotgun because they have Dotson back and they've been better than that at the Packers all year, right? So if they do go down, like, Kyron Williams is not going to have 6 attempts for 6 yards the entire second half for Blake Corum. I think all those things are possible. I do really love the way Caleb is playing right now. I'm not quite sure who I want to pick because I think about how many points the Rams might be able to score, and I think about how many points the Bears might be able to score. Like, it really is a shootout, and the Bears are at home.
The two biggest factors of the game, baby. Caleb's best plays have been so crazy. I mean, we talked about this the last episode. He's been nuts.
And he's good in structure, too. Like, I feel like he was good just hitting the dig, like, off-play action.
But even then, they got stifled at first by a bad Packers defense. So, and for what it's worth, I do think on some level there is a mental holding the Rams to a much higher expectation than we're holding the Bears. If I told you before the season the Bears, I guess maybe that's not the best comparison, but like Chicago has already achieved whatever anybody could have wanted them to achieve. We went into these playoffs saying Rams are kind of Super Bowl or bust. If they lose to Seattle, fair enough. Other than that, they should be in the bowl. It's not excusable to lose this game because of how good they looked during this season and how like they were effective on both sides of the ball. So when they go and win like a relatively tight game, even where they make some really dumb mistakes in the first round, you're like, that's not a good look. When the Bears have a comeback win against the Packers, it's awesome because like you'll kind of, you don't have quite a high expectations for them. Their Super Bowl odds aren't as high if you want to look at it like that or whatever. Yeah. If the Rams had played that game against the Packers, the Rams offense had struggled for a half against the Packers defense. Like, what would we be saying right now? We'd be like, what the hell happened? But that's also because we were coming off of like months of discourse about, do they have the offensive player of the year? And do they have the MVP? And is Sean McVay the best coach in the NFL? And that type of stuff. I don't want to make that a shot at Chicago. I just think they're in very different places. And I do think that can sometimes affect how you think about this game. They're very much in it, though. The Bears are, they very much have a shot.
They very much have a shot. And, the Bears are underdogs. But they're formidable underdogs just because they have an offense and a quarterback that is, I think, playing so well and capable of playing so well. And like, I know the MVP debate is over. All right. I don't want to talk about it, but there is a level of concern that I have about the way that Matthew Stafford has been playing recently. There is a level of concern about the way that he's been playing recently. Like that Carolina game, I didn't think he played a good game. Yeah. Like I think he had a good drive at the end, a really good drive when Carolina started playing soft and all that. But man, the pick that he threw and the deep shot that he missed to Dante and just some of the accuracy things, I'm just like, this has been going on for months now. Like Stafford just being a hair more inaccurate than I feel like he should be. And against the Falcons, that game wasn't that long ago. I thought it all came to a head. Like a lot of his issues, and there's this disaster class, right? And that wasn't that long ago. And I look at him and the way that Caleb is playing now, and it's like I kind of might have more faith in Caleb to perform just with what I've seen over the last like month or so. And that if the Bears have a quarterback advantage, and they're at home.
I don't think I would go as far as to say the Bears have a quarterback advantage. I do agree with you that Stafford has been less than, I guess, his perception among fans and among maybe the MVP voters. But
the Rams' passing offense has been better than Chicago's.
Yes, it has.
And their rushing game has been better, and they have a better defense.
Yeah, that's all true.
And when you frame it like that,
I don't. Yeah, I mean, and they have in terms of efficiency, I'm sure a top 5 passing, top 5 rushing, and I don't know if their defense is top 5 in efficiency metrics, but it's probably relatively close.
That's all true, but it's true for the Falcons as well, and it's true of the Panthers, and that game was a scare.
Sure, yeah.
They're a little less than some of their parts, the Rams, I think.
I don't think that's crazy to say.
I'm saying all this.
I don't think that Caleb is like this mistake-free.
Right.
No.
I think you're kind of judging them on two different planes here. You're judging Caleb off of like, this is a guy kind of coming off like a marginally disappointing rookie year, all things considered, and he's been good and he's made a lot of good plays. Stafford, we've been debating whether or not he's been the best quarterback in the NFL this year, kind of on the side of like, it should be this other guy. That's a much, much harsher criteria. I don't disagree that Stafford did not play his best game though against the Panthers. I think it's a valid concern, but I also don't think Caleb is like perfectly accurate or perfectly mistake free either. And I do think on paper the Rams are the better team for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe I'll do the thing I did last time where I hem and haw about how the Panthers have a chance and then go with the Rams, which ended up being exactly the right thing to do.
Right.
So maybe it's the right thing to do this time. I'm going with Chicago, though. I feel like they're more dangerous than Carolina. I think that Caleb is going to ascend to superstardom this weekend.
Okay. I think Loveland might ascend. I mean, I think both.
I think there's a lot of
Loveland
weapons.
200 yards.
Theo, I'm with you on picking Chicago. I like that pick, but it's because of the weapons, not because of Caleb for me.
Okay.
It's because of both. But it's mostly because of Caleb.
I guess I'll pick the lowly Rams. I'll be the only one who believes in them at all. Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably not a bad.
I'm the only person in the Rams corner. Everybody else doubts them. Not on this podcast in the media sphere entirely.
Now that we're picking the Bears, they're going to lose.
The Bears beat the Packers, guys. Do you know how good you have to be to do that?
You just have to be as good as the 49ers were for the past decade,
And look at how good they are.
Yeah, no Super Bowls to show for it, right? So, yeah, those are our divisional round picks. Bills, Broncos, Texans, Patriots, Seahawks, 49ers, and Bears, Rams. But we have to talk about one more thing before we get out here. That's Dante Moore. Staying another year, going back to school, cares about his education, cares about being intelligent.
I like it.
Yes.
Okay, I guess here's my question about it. How much of a lock was he to be the second overall pick?
I think not a lock at all, clearly.
That's my takeaway. Everyone's like, he really turned down being the second overall pick. And I'm like, are we 100% sure that he was locked into it? I know that's where he's being mocked right now. And I know the Jets need a quarterback instead of the Raiders. And those are the top two teams picking and whatever. But are we saying for sure there was no world where his draft stock falls? Because I mean, watching him against Indiana, he didn't look like a first-round pick in the slightest in that game. That was not a good game to put on tape. It was incredibly concerning, his inability to deal with pressure in that one. I'm not saying I'm completely out and over on him or whatever, but my initial read was if he's staying, maybe he doesn't feel as good about his draft prospects as Twitter does right now, or as highly as he's ranked on PFF's mock draft simulator or something like that. If he was going to be the second overall pick for sure, and he decided to go back for school, look, I'm very much a you should stay and get more reps guy. But yeah, it's a lot of money to turn down and it's a big risk, but I don't know.
You also make a lot of money in NIL these days.
You can. And I guess we've talked about before, Anthony Richardson, right? He went really high. He got a lot of guaranteed money, but could he have used more reps? So to stay logically consistent, I don't think it's a bad thing to get more reps. But of course, there's a big millions and millions and millions of dollars risk, even if you're getting a lot of money in NIL that you're taking there. Also, people are like, oh, the poor Jets, they're screwed.
The poor Jets.
I'm going to be real with you. Jets probably going to be bad next year, regardless of whether or not more comes out. That probably is not the deciding factor for them. No offense to anybody, but like, they're not going to be great. There's a world where they have a good draft and then they get the quarterback next year after stinking, and then they build from there. So I don't know. I guess I just didn't think it was such a lock that Moore was the second overall. I feel like Mendoza definitely is going to be a top pick, like the number one, it seems like. And even if the Raiders were to come out tomorrow and be like, we just don't like him at all, he's just not our guy, I'd be confident they'd either trade it or he could go in the next few picks. But Moore, I didn't feel the same way about.
Yeah, I would find it weird if, I don't know. I think if he's the second overall pick, that's a 4-year, $40 million plus contract, like locked in as soon as they take you. Whereas NIL is 1 year, 10 million, like
probably
15 million.
10.
Like maybe they offered him a bag because it's unlimited, right? A billionaire could say, Dante Moore, I'll give you all my billions if you come play and win a championship for Oregon this year. Like there's nothing preventing them from doing that. But so who knows what the pay actually is for him, but it's definitely not the security that the NFL draft would provide you. So just financially, if your stock really is, I'm the number 2 overall pick, it's probably the right decision to declare.
Financially, there's no question about that.
Financially, there's no question about that. And like, if you're that guy, you should want to declare, I feel like, and just get to the pros.
Well, maybe he watched his tape against Indiana and said, this is as close to an NFL defense as you're going to get to in college. And I looked like shit.
Yeah, right.
I need to get better against this kind of a defense. Maybe that's his logic.
And it's probably the correct thing to think, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he looked great in that game at all. I wouldn't have drafted him with the second overall pick.
No.
Yeah.
Looking at that.
But what is your stock outside of just mock drafts? You know, that's like, did he get intel from the league? Like, hey,
that's why it's hard to make a judgment on this. I guess my take overall is like people are making a lot of calls without all the information. We don't know what his actual draft stock really truly is. And there's times often where the public believes up until the night of the draft that a guy has significantly different stock than they really do. Like with quarterbacks, you'll see a guy go from, oh, this guy might go first overall, this guy might go top 10 to he's not even a first round pick whatsoever. Yeah. And if you told me right now that Sanders, it's a great example. I guess he was never like, well, there was something.
Yeah, he was a second overall pick, maybe like second overall pick, and then he's round 5. Malik Willis, maybe a top 10 pick, and then he's round
Willis.
3.
Levis comes to mind, although maybe that was more like Reddit says he's going first overall, and it's like, okay, that's not quite the same.
Like if you went to mocks, he definitely was like trending in the top 10 at one point because Reddit said he could be the Colts pick, right, at number 4 or whatever.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are like, it's going to be those. It might be quarterback, and then the draft starts, right?
Yeah.
So we definitely, you have to keep in mind that we don't have the best knowledge of where exactly guys' stocks are, and it just wouldn't surprise me if Moore's grade around the league was more like second rounder. And if that's the case, I think it makes total sense to go back and to get another year of reps under your belt, and give yourself a chance to make a lot more money. You're probably making more money on NIL than you are as a second round pick.
Right.
Yeah, I do think it's the right decision. I think even though he was the consensus number 2 overall pick, because he really was. Look at any mock draft right now, and it will tell you Mendoza number 1, Dante Moore number 2. And I don't know if we've ever seen somebody go back to school with that kind of consensus hype ever. But I think Moore may have correctly identified that is not his reality. That was not his reality. Yeah. Because that was a disastrous playoff run. And I totally agree with you, Matt. The Jets are fine with that, probably. Like
look, Dante Moore get another year in college. The Jets will be waiting for you.
They will be waiting for you. That's the other thing is I don't understand the mentality. But everybody's saying he went back to avoid the Jets. Who do you think is going to be there
for
next
a long time, buddy? It's not going anywhere.
I'm sure the Jets are mad that Dante Moore went back to school and ducked the number 2 overall pick. Oh, I have bad news on who possesses the number 2 overall pick next year.
Which has the number 1 overall pick next year.
Seriously, I think this is good for the Jets because now you can, instead of Woody Johnson pressuring you into taking Dante Moore, you can take Caleb Downs or Ruben Bain or Arvell Reese or whoever it is, and then get a good starter. And then next year, you're still terrible because you traded your best 2 players away in the middle of the season and you don't have a quarterback. So they're going to get the first overall pick most likely. Like, if I don't know if there's odds on 2027 right now. I'm sure there are. Jets are clearly going to be the number 1 team in those odds. Maybe the Browns are ahead of them. But
no,
because Garrett himself gets them to 5.
They have a very good defense overall.
Yeah. You're even right. You're right.
Yeah.
So
they got to 5 this year.
The only thing, I don't want to be too presumptive about how their offseason will go. Again, anybody can crush it. And
true. They could take Chambliss or Simpson number 2 overall easily too.
Well, they could do something disastrous. I was thinking more like, could they bring in, like, I don't know, like a Willis and make a couple of good picks and win like 5 games and be picking 8th, right? It's really not that unthinkable. Of course, they blew it up and they're like tanking in a way that a lot of other teams aren't. So when we say like they're probably going to be pretty bad next year, it's different than even saying like the Titans will be or something like that, which is another team that could very easily not be that great. But yeah, I think if the Jets ended up like just kind of drafting BPA and trying to get some blue chippers back, and then they ended up drafting highly and had another shot at a quarterback next year, like it wouldn't be the end of the world. I would honestly be a scenario that I would be cheering for if I were a Jets fan.
Yeah, I think I just would say like just take downs. I don't care about the positional value there. Like take down or take Tyson or Tate or Lemon or Bain.
Again, it's tough because it's like who's number 2. There's a lot of guys that I like. I like a lot of those guys. We've had this exact conversation.
Yeah, we have. And again, maybe you could say, oh, trade down. Who is trading up for any of those guys? As we've said a million times. I would say I would have tried to avoid taking Ty Simpson 2nd overall, and I'd try to avoid taking Chambliss 2nd overall. I get there's still more scouting to do on them, but the way I feel right now is Moore goes back to school. Don't just head to QB3 and be like, we got to take him now when they're a projected 2nd rounder.
That would be
right
bad.
Now. I think that would be bad.
I mean, I do think there's truth to, of course, like if you're in range of a top tier quarterback, like you kind of got to take your swing and hope you can build it out around them and stuff like that. And you're only drafting this high every once in a while. Even a team like the Jets, who is bad and their outlook is kind of bleak for next year, even with an open off season. And they obviously, like, again, they tanked. Even then you're like, you don't know how often you get the 2nd overall. Like at a point there has to be a level of guy who's really, really earned that. And if one does not obviously reveal themselves to you in this draft process, which kind of looks like it won't, then I would be very careful about not taking just like a guy, because I think there's a bunch of stars that they could take it to.
Yeah, Arch would be at the top of my mind. Like, he's not a Wemby of the NFL by any stretch of the imagination, but like you can build a QB run game around him. He's really, really tough in the pocket. Like he has some really high end throws, and that would be the guy where it's like, that's the type of prospect I'd like to take if I'm taking quarterback in the top 2, is somebody with a profile like that. So I'm not going to take there's a chance that guy is in the draft next year, which I guess there was a chance he was in the draft this year.
Right.
But next year's probably a little bit more serious for Arch and a lot more serious for Dante Moore as well. You'll have a chance to just take him again. So I just wouldn't, like, you might as well take the really good player now. You could take Simpson because quarterback is the most important position to get right. So maybe you're thinking, well, I'll take Simpson, and if he's good, then he's good. And if he's bad, then we'll just take a quarterback again. We'll Rosen him, which you could do. And quarterback is so important that I can understand that. But I think you could try to land the ship.
Simpson's stock right now, maybe we don't know what the NFL is thinking. I don't think Simpson's stock right now is like he's going to go second overall anymore, man. I think the back half of the season, he played himself out like that, so we don't need to.
Yeah, but
I think what would
teams don't really draft based on like stock. They just draft.
With quarterback, it can vary wildly because sometimes quarterbacks who are picked in the top or projected in the top 10.
We'll be discussing it for months, I'm sure.
You're right.
We've got much discussion ahead of us.
Yeah, we definitely do.
I mean like that.
Yeah. I wonder how much these agents get, like the agent of college players are able to like poll intel on like NFL execs. Like, how much do you like Dante Moore? How much do you like?
Probably, honestly, I feel like probably a decent amount, right? I mean, if you called and just like, keep it real with me, bro, like, you think my guy's a first rounder?
Yeah.
Do you really think they'd be incentivized to like maybe as like a smoke screen, maybe to not necessarily that they think it's going to get out, but just to be like, I don't even know if that would make.
Yeah, if you called the Jets and be like, are you really going to take us number 2 overall? And they're like, well, we don't know. We we don't know. We don't know. Like, I don't know if we have that grade.
If they would have like, they might not give a clear answer, but you would be looking for some affirmation that they're like actually interested.
Or you just know when you watched him in the playoffs. You'd be like, if you watch Caleb Williams and you're his agent, you're like, oh yeah.
You got the like hand on the shoulder.
Your phone is blowing up. Like, congrats, bro. From like the Jets.
I have no intel, but dude, I watch you. I take you top 5 easy, bro.
Meanwhile, Moore's agent is watching him versus Indiana, and his phone is dead silent. Maybe then he just kind of knows, like, yeah, I'm not hearing the buzz. I'm not. Yeah. They might let him know, like, hey, like the Jets would probably, if they wanted Dante Moore, they'd probably text him. They'd probably text the agent, like, yo, let your guy declare. Like, we want to take him. So I'm pressuring you to tell him, advise him to go to the league because the Jets will take you second overall. Whereas that text just doesn't show up. And then you're like, well, like you're kind of jumping into the pool here without
you get a text from the education is really important. It's probably not.
We got a text from the Mark Kelly campaign asking for money. We didn't.
Look, man. Yeah, it's like relationships. If they like you, you'll know. If they don't, you'll be confused.
Yes, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
No, they just did text him.
His phone was bone dry. His mom texted him during the Indiana game.
It's like, good luck, sweetie.
Watching the game? Yes, Mom.
What? Yes, I'm watching. All right. Well, that'll do it, I think, for another episode of Stay Hot. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will, of course, be back to recap the NFL playoffs, well, the NFL Divisional Round of the playoffs before we get into the conference championships and whatnot. We're getting closer and closer to the Super Bowl. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all very, very soon. And until then, we will catch you on the Flippity Flop.